So, one of the things that I heard you say, and there's a whole lot of great stuff that you offered, was that when you got there, really, it was kind of a wilderness season in the
Yes.
life of the church, and you got to a place a year later where you were able to announce a vision, maybe point some people in direction. What I'm finding in talking to pastors, what I'm finding talking often to people who are leading nonprofits, missions, is that a lot of them right now feel like they're in this wilderness era, this wilderness season. And so what are some of the things that you did that you could say, "These were some of the things that we did that really helped us kind of begin to move even without a well-stated vision, begin to move forward?" What
Yeah.
are some of the things that you look back now and you're like, "I don't know how we survived that," or,
Yeah.
"I shouldn't have done that,
Yeah.
but somehow we survived that." What are some of those first year movements that
Yeah.
allowed you to really to begin to make motion happen?
So that's a really good question. So anytime you come into a congregational context that's in like a wilderness season, I compare it to the children of Israel being in exile, right? And so I actually was teaching on this last year. You come in almost and you have to be like an exilic prophet. Okay. The exilic prophet will identify, you have to identify, here's what happened. There's some, anytime you have a congregation that they were divided or something, there were some pitfalls that you want to steer clear of. So you have to acknowledge that. You cannot, try to hide any of that or sweep it under the rug because you don't want to fall in those same pits again. But one of the things that the exilic prophets did as well is they called people and reminded them of the hope, right? And that is so critical. It is so important that despite where we are right now or where you have been, there is hope for greater, right? And that's one of the primary things. When you come in, if you're a leader, you have to remind people of the hope that we have. And then you have to set their minds on a greater vision, right? And I'm not necessarily talking about the particular vision for ministry in your church that you're going to develop, but just God's greater vision for them, right? So one of the first things that I did, I wanted to focus this church on what is the purpose for the church and what is God's desire for the church? What are God's promises to his church, right? So just the church, capital C, right? Before we even started talking about the particular, right? To remind us that what we experience in a local church setting, some of it may align and some of it might not align, but here is what God's design is for it. So that was one of the first things that I did. Next thing is looking at your culture, right? What is the culture? So I took the church through this book called Cracking Your Church's Culture Code. And the reason I did that is because sometimes, at least in our context, probably in a lot of churches, but in the Baptist church context, sometimes the expectation is that we are in this wilderness period. We're bringing in, we voted in the pastor, right? So there's some hopes that we have that this pastor has what it takes to bring us out of the wilderness. But the perspective places all of the onus upon the superstar pastor and it does not take into account our responsibility as parishioners and as a church to have a culture where the vision can actually live and breathe, right? So I wanted us to assess what is the culture of our church right now. So that book, Cracking Your Church's Culture Code, I think I did it during a Bible study, Cracking Your Church's Culture Code, and it was great because it really started asking probative questions to the congregation about what is our culture, why is our culture this, and then what are the things that we need to change in our culture
Mhm. Yeah.
so that when this new vision is given, this new vision actually has a chance to take off, right? Because culture is like the oxygen, it can kill it, right? And so we started talking through some of those things as well, right? So looking at the vision of God's church, looking at our culture, right?